What's going on, you guys? My name is Rayge, and we are back today with the very popular discussion on the investment of Big Apocalypse himself, guys. So I've made quite a few videos on this in the past, just in regards to comparing my experience because of me going through Dark Dimensions with Baby Apocalypse. Now we both have Super Scroll and the Big Apocalypse himself fully unlocked. I want to share my thoughts with you guys, but first and foremost, before we get started, just a word from our sponsor here. Let's get right to it.
So what is this going to be about? It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's Rayge Shadow Legends soaring. That's right, folks. You've heard the name before, but do you actually know what you're missing out on? I sure didn't, and especially if you're hoping to thrive free to play like myself, the game is available for Android, iOS, and PC, so you can download and try for free using my link or scan the QR code to receive amazing heroes, hundreds of different champions to collect, an in-depth turn-based RPG with visually pleasing graphics, grueling boss fights, and more. Sounds pretty good, right? A similar MSF, I mean, the number of game modes is what allows autonomy for players to really choose what they want to excel in, whether it's campaigns, arenas, clan versus clan wars. Now, what's new and different are faction wars where champions of specific factions are required to progress further, followed by epic boss battle.
The Cursed City is also one of Rayge's biggest features since the Doom Tower, with over 100 stages to complete, including where you need to take down 2 of the Raid's bosses at the same time. This is a new update, and definitely check it out as this is exciting.
It's exciting content in Raid. What are you folks waiting for? Make sure to use my link in the description below or scan the QR code to receive epic heroes, a rare hero unlock for free, and start summoning powerful champions today as soon as you start the game. Once you're in and crushing your enemies, come and find me, Rayge92, join my clan, and let's be legends together.
Now, let's start things off by talking about the overall account impact since my unlock here of Big Apocalypse, because I think that's going to share a lot of insight in terms of how this is going to obviously impact your account if you are planning to go this route. But first and foremost, guys, I mean, what I've noticed anyways since unlocking Big Apocalypse, my arena rank has unchanged. It hasn't really impacted me directly from that front. Both my Cosmic Crucible and War teams have gotten stronger, whether it's on defense or offense. Having Apocalypse now in his full upgraded form, he's better able to synergize with other teams, but as well getting his ultimate off and being able to unleash his fury right there and then, not waiting an extra turn, is absolutely huge. So I've definitely felt that presence for sure. And then more specifically, guys, this is only going to be applicable if you're doing the highest incursion rates. For our team right now, it's 2.2. I've definitely felt it easier in the mutant rates because before with my Baby Apocalypse, I did need a sack. I need to utilize one attack there so that way he can build up the turn and then emulate a Big Apocalypse so that way he can actually clear the node. But that was the only difference that I felt from a raid perspective. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't notice it if you're not doing the highest levels of incursion. And then lastly, guys, obviously a ton of ISO 8 Blue 5, Teal Catalyst investment, training, and don't even get me started with the gold investment. Just bringing all 23 characters, gear tier 17, level 90, it is quite an investment that you will feel, and that's also why my strategy was a little different in terms of planning what was best for my account. Obviously, it's going to be changed and dependent on how you manage your resources and which characters and teams you want to build. But overall, my own experience is that the Big Apocalypse investment, if you're strictly comparing it from a Dark Dimension 6 perspective, it will save you about 1 to 2 weeks in total attacks. What that means to you then is, can you farm up the resources that you need in 1 to 2 weeks if you do decide to invest in Big Apocalypse before starting Dark Dimension 6 and going forward with that Baby Apocalypse form. Now, having said that, guys, I also want to talk about my own timeline here just because I'm hoping this can at least shed some light in terms of how this was progressed throughout the year. So you recall, March 2023, that's really when Apocalypse was fully released into the game. And that's also when I unlocked them right away, just because it was quite easy to unlock Baby Apocalypse. Many of the Horseman teams were already built up, and thankfully the requirements weren't too crazy for us to do, even free to play to begin with. In 4 to 5 months, relatively around there, in August 2023, that's when I started Dark Dimension 6 with Baby Apocalypse. That followed up then by another couple of months of actually going through and obviously starting the attacks and going through it. The completion of Dark Dimension 6 with Baby Apocalypse, as well as the unlock of Super Scroll himself, happening in November. So that only took a few months, but as you can see, it was very meaningful. And then a month later, this is where we are right now, right? The completion of the Apocalypse Saga, the Apocalyptic difficulty, we got Big Apocalypse upgraded. And I actually am in my second run right now for Dark Dimension 6, making a lot better speed than the 2 to 3 months that we saw. There's only been a couple of characters that I've added, but overall it's the same consistent teams that I've used, and I am currently right now in the final section, in the last node of this run. I'm actually probably time of recording, I'll probably have him unlocked fully, but yeah, I only have a couple more attacks to go here. It's that last nasty wave in the legendary section. So that's my timeline, guys, just to give you some perspective of how this proceeded with my baby Apocalypse, going through it with Dark Dimension 6, and just to give you some relativity in terms of how that progressed as I pushed forward. Now, my recommendation, guys, my own experience, right? I want to talk about what I do recommend, but before then, I want to talk about what I was able to achieve with this. Remember, my account is free to play. I have a heavy emphasis on account resources. I'm all about management of resources, and that's really how you succeed in this game, planning ahead. And that's really how I got that opportunity to unlock Apocalypse right at the release, because I was building up to that time, and we had more than enough, great communication from Scopely and Boundless on how his unlock was going to be, what was required, and so forth. And I was able to land a Dark Dimension 6 top 1500 ranking in the leaderboards, even with baby Apocalypse going through those 2 to 3 months. I was able to progress. That's, again, thanks to me just managing my resources, heavy emphasis on the gold and uniques required, and making sure that I didn't make mistakes along the way, because I didn't want to upgrade a character later on that would then create a bottleneck for me to bring in characters of a section. For example, you don't want to be building up, city and legendary characters before you're starting the global and cosmic nodes. It's going to create an inherent bottleneck issue. But again, everyone has different priorities. For me, this is the first time I really want to strive and do well in a Dark Dimension 6 and historically land a top ranking there. So I was very, very happy and pleased that I was finally able to get this done, first time ever in my account. Dark Dimension 4 and 5 were really good practice situations for me, but I really wanted to apply it finally in this new Dark Dimension. Now, guys, what do I recommend now, knowing this experience of having both Super Scroll and Big Apocalypse unlocked? Well, there's a couple of scenarios to play out here, but this is what I think based on my own experience, and there are a little bit of exceptions here and there, but I want to talk about that. So, number one, if you're newer to the game, and I would say anywhere from a year to 2 years, I still think that's pretty relatively new, because your resources are going to be a little different. You didn't have the advantage I have. My account is 4 years of experience, just shy of it. So that's obviously time for me to build up resources, purple, orange gear, and so forth, training, gold mats, and you just didn't get a chance to do so. I would recommend actually skipping Big Apocalypse and going straight for Super Scroll himself in Dark Dimension 6. You're just going to feel the impact much more, to be quite honest. And we don't know how this video is gonna date going forward here, but my thoughts is that hopefully in the future they do lower the requirements and they'll make it easier, so that way there isn't this heavy of a investment into Big Apocalypse, or they make it even easier to obtain more of these TO materials, the T2 ISOs and so forth, and this constraint doesn't become as hectic, right? Especially what we've seen with the TO Catalyst, it takes a huge chunk of your account as well as the gold investment. So yeah, if you're new to the game, guys, just to recap, I personally would recommend skipping Big Apocalypse until later on and going straight for Super Scroll in Dark Dimension 6. It's only a couple weeks that you shave off anyways if you actually utilize Baby Apocalypse to go through. It's possible, it's not impossible, and I've proven it with my videos and guides. So if you guys are interested, I definitely to capture the majority of it if you want to follow along. But yeah, it's not an anomaly, it's not impossible, it's definitely doable. Secondly, if you're experienced, I think Big Apocalypse and the Super Scroll timing will be very, very similar, so it's not really going to matter what you want to do. It's more so just reviewing your resources and seeing if you're able to get the job done, obviously. And lastly, if you're a veteran gamer like myself and you have amassed quite a bit of time in the game, or maybe a light spender or so forth, you can likely probably start off with Big Apocalypse and even start Dark Dimension 6 and go for Scroll, just because you have those materials, you have those resources built up. You probably won't have that constraint like the newer players in the game. Now, obviously, guys, I put an exception here because if you can actually afford all 23 characters at Gear Tier 17, level 90, and still start Dark Dimension 6 right away, that's actually the go-to, right? I couldn't do that. Obviously, if I can go back, if I had the investment, the resources available to start a Dark Dimension 6 with Big Apocalypse, 100% I would have taken advantage of it. I just know my constraints. I know what my resource supply was. It wasn't possible. Even as you saw in my timeline earlier that I've shown, it still took me a month after the completion of Dark Dimension 6 to actually complete my my Big Apocalypse upgrade. So it still took me another month of amassing resources and materials. Hence why I don't recommend it unless you know for sure that you can actually afford it and complete and start Dark Dimension 6. And then, guys, Honestly, Super Scroll changes your account experience. I didn't really feel the impact of Big Apocalypse so much. I mean, he really was just more of a luxury character, to be honest. I definitely will say I feel it in my mutant rates, but again, now that we know this Extreme X-Men team coming into the game, that's going to very well change that dynamic of what you need and don't need now. So just something to be mindful of in the future here. You know, these are my recommendations overall from my own experience as a free-to-play player. But again, I hope this at least gives you guys some insight in terms of planning, especially for those of you that haven't started Dark Dimension 6 yet or haven't unlocked Big Apocalypse. I definitely think it's important to consider this because you could be creating a very, very early bottleneck for your progression and opportunity to unlock new characters, new legendaries, and obviously completion of Dark Dimension 6. So there you guys have it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, but I do think that this is a great way to at least see now how Super Scroll compares to Big Apocalypse. I'm happy with the unlock. I'm happy with finally wrapping everything up. But yeah, this was a huge accomplishment this year. I think they did a great job planning everything out. But now I'm glad this has been finally wrapped up and we can look on to the future here. And again, guys, please feel free to check out Rayge Shadow Legends. It's a free-to-play game like MSF as well. If you haven't scanned the QR code, great opportunity to try a different game and definitely more RPG-based, which is awesome to see as well. Thank you as always. Do appreciate you guys checking my videos, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.